fellow 996 Porsche owners. I am going to be doing my Porsche transmission service. I'm going to be dumping the fluid out of it. I bought a kit that included the Titan ATF 4134. This is per spec from Porsche. There's only 2 fluids that they recommend using, and of course they give you 9 liters, but dumping the transmission and changing it is only going to require 4.5 liters. The only way to get all of the transmission fluid out is to remove the transmission, take the torque converter out, and dump it all out. So we're just going to be doing a change here, and I'll be using 4.5 liters. I bought this garden sprayer, and I also bought the Porsche fill hose. Connecting hose is what it's called. There's the part number. It's a $60 hose, but it connects right to the port. The second generation Tiptronic has a different oil pan. It's got less screws, and it also has a fill port, and I'll show you that later when I get the car raised up. But I'll be hooking this into this and using a hose clamp. There's the filter kit, gasket, and the filter. There's a new plug with a little gasket. This is my Harbor Freight infrared temperature reader, and some instructions that I got offline, because this is not the same instructions that you can get from like Pelican Parts. This is the second generation Tiptronic, so it's a little different. And some torque bits, my Milwaukee battery impact, and some gloves. And I'm gonna lift it up with my quick jack that I bought when I bought this car. And what I do with that, of course, I'm never going to take an engine out. It doesn't get it up high enough to do that. I guess they make some adapters that you can get it up just a little bit higher, just not quite high enough. But the only thing I do is I change tires, do my brakes, change my own oil, and generally get it up to where I can see underneath there, because as you know, these Porsche 911s are pretty low to the ground. You can't even get your head underneath there when it's sitting on the ground. So I'll check back with you and once I get it up, and I'll show you a little bit more of what I'm doing. Jack is in place. Really easy to use. So we press the up button. Go all the way up. And once it gets past this point here, you back it down so it locks in place. Just like that. Underneath, this is the port, the fill port. So you need to back it up, because otherwise this will spin out. But this is the cap, and then this end will connect to that. So it doesn't take much pressure, from what I've been reading, to push the fluid past this. So I'm going to test it before I start dumping all that tranny fluid into that garden sprayer. Maybe put a couple liters in there and make sure it's going to go. And then this is the dump. This is the drain plug, and this one here is the one that you open, and when you're filling here, the first stage when you get it high enough, it's going to come out of here. A lot of guys think you can just fill from here, but this fill port gets it up into the upper, regions and pumps and all that other kind of stuff to where it fills the system rather than just fill in the sump here. So I'll be back with you once we test this out and see if it works good. But this is the pan. This will come off. There's I think 6 Torx head screws. I gotta take this cross member off. It goes up there and there to get the pan out. I don't think I'll have to take off this plastic shroud. We'll see. Pan's off, the filter's off. It's relatively clean in here for 90,000 miles. I don't see any shavings or metal or anything of that nature. So I think we're good. Stinky, it's not burnt smelling or anything like that. So I think we're good. So I'm going to go ahead and clean this and then put everything back together. And the garden sprayer did work. It functioned fine. It pushed the fluid through, so we're good there. And next I'll fill that up with about, 4 quarts or so and start pumping it back in. With you, here's the transmission oil pan all cleaned up. This is a metal that removes it's metal. It did have a bunch of really fine metallic particles stuck to it, so I cleaned that. It just sticks right here, so it just picks up whatever comes off the discs or clutches or whatever the hell's in there, I don't know. And this is the replacement filter. The new gasket has been fitted. This is the old one, and it has a Porsche number on it. It says it's a Filtran, and I believe that's OEM stuff. It does have the Porsche number right here. So it leads me to believe it's never been serviced, so this will be the first time. So now I'm ready to put her back in, and I'll be back with you on the steps for filling the sump, filling the system through the port that we talked about earlier. We're here ready to fit the filter, which goes in that hole. It has a rubber O-ring to hold it in place. Everything looks very clean and ready to go. This stuff is all attached to the outside of the pan with these clips, so I have to get those back in place. This plastic air, I don't know, you know how the underneath here is all covered so air doesn't get underneath there and stop the flow and slow down the vehicle. So that did have to be loosened, and got a little bit of oil on it, but I'll wipe that up. So now we'll fit this and go from there. Bottomed out up there where the O-ring fits into that hole, and we're ready to put the cover back on. 70 ounces, but these bottles of fluid are in milliliters, so I don't know what the conversion would be, but anyhow, it took about 70 ounces. It was up to 105. Goes kind of slow. Took me about 10 minutes. It says that 25 pumps on this garden sprayer gets you about 40 psi, and so it pushes it a little slow, but took 70 ounces until it started coming out the upper port. So we go to the next step, which is to start the car and put it in gear and then we get it up to temperature so that it accepts additional fluid. So I'll check back with you. Time to start the car and get the tranny up to, it says between 85 and 100 degrees, which would be warm to the touch. So I have my infrared thermometer and I'll check it periodically, but it could take up to 45 minutes to get up to temperature, so we'll get that going now. Check the temperature here. .87 degrees, so it's between 85 and 100. So I'm going to shut it off and check the level, and I'll be back with you. Okay, so adding fluid until it comes out. Car's off. It's up to temperature. May be a while, so I'll check back with you. Now, it took a few more ounces, and now we'll plug like it says. And now I'm going to take the upper port plug out and top it off. See if any fluid comes out. Not coming out, so I'm going to add until it comes out, and then it'll be done. So the garden sprayer worked, the Porsche hose worked, and it took about 4.5 liters. Just like the book says. Wasn't that hard a job. Was able to check the temperature and get it up to between 85 and 100 degrees. And there we have it. If I would have taken it to the Indy, he wanted 900. There was another guy in another part of town who wanted 600. I bought this garden sprayer for like, I don't know, $29, something like that, off of Amazon. And then the fluid and the filter and stuff like that was another 150-ish. So I got probably around $200 into this job. So it's a money saver, and it can be done if you can change your oil. You pretty much can do this. It's a little more involved, but it's not rocket science. So there's my story, and I was a little reluctant to do this. I read up on it for a couple months off and on, thinking, should I do this or should I take it into and have it done in a shop? But I decided I'd do it, and it worked. So we're good. That's about it. Thanks, out.